I'm an ex-Mormon and I just finished watching American Primeval on Netflix. The series begins with the Mountain Meadows Massacre, or more like an interpretation of it, because the real thing happened over the course of 5 days, and in this episode it happens in like 1 day. It's more inspired by true events, but the gist is there. The gist is the Mormons, they had this militia and they just attacked this innocent group of people, 120 men, women, and children, and they massacred all of them. They killed all of them except for, I think there was like 17 children who were about 6 and under, most of them like babies, toddlers, because they felt that these kids could tell no tales, is what all the perpetrators claimed. Everybody else was killed because they didn't want anyone to know that the Mormons had done it. But in the series, it's a little bit different. It does show how they kind of try to hide it. They cover it up. They pin it on some Native American tribe that they had kind of assist them in the act. You'll start wanting to Google stuff while you're watching the show. I definitely did. And you'll learn some facts. Brigham Young is definitely portrayed as a steadfast, religious guy. I think that what I read was almost all of the lines that were said in this were things that he had actually said. So he definitely incited this kind of feeling of it's us against them, but he actually didn't direct these men to do it, as far as history tells. And I'm not just trying to be like an apologist, but from everything I've read, he wasn't to blame, technically, for it. You could put blame on him, but it was actually the perpetrators, like the militiamen, who decided that they didn't want anyone to find out what they did, and so they just killed everybody. Terrible. Terrible. Anyway, the series shows a whole bunch of fictional characters. We got Sarah, who I hated. There were some really great representations of different Native American tribes. I just listened to the Mormon Stories podcast where they had some people on speaking to like the historical accuracy of some of those things. And so, like, while this show and this series is historical fiction, they did do a really great job of trying to represent, like, these tribes more accurately than I think a lot of film tends to represent them. A lot of media tends to more poorly represent them. But I think there's maybe some things they could have done better. But again, we're just keep in mind this is historical fiction. None of this is completely accurate. It didn't even all take place over the period of time that this is taking place. None of that happened in the order that this happened in. But I think it was a really good show. I think it was highly graphic. So if you can stomach it or like fast forward through some parts, there is some stuff that is very violent, but it's honestly not as violent as what actually happened. Go watch the series if you want to. It's, I think, a very interesting series. And go learn more about what actually happened at the Mountain Meadows Massacre. It's something that there are descendants from those children who survived, and they want people to know what happened.